What if America's favorite TV mom had a secret life far more tragic than the Prairie ever showed us? I'm Sarah Reed of Golden American Legends, and I grew up watching Little House reruns on a fuzzy TV while flipping old vinyl. I always thought I knew Ma, but behind that kind face was a story that stayed quiet for decades. As one report put it, Karen Grassle has broken her silence at 83, revealing a life marked by pain and struggle. She first stepped into our homes in 1974 when NBC launched Little House on the Prairie. It ran 9 seasons, and her Caroline Ingalls became the country's warm, steady heartbeat. For this episode, I spent hours with her memoir, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, plus old interviews and clippings. The more I read, the more I felt the weight she carried while she lifted us. If this kind of deep dive hits home, tap like so more classic TV fans can find it. Her name still means comfort to millions, but to understand the courage it took to become Ma, we have to go back to where her grit began. Let's rewind to the Pacific Coast, where sunshine and shadows shaped a little girl named Karen. Here's the picture I see: ocean air, a tidy home, and a secret ache no one outside could spot. Karen Grassle was born February 25, 1942 in Berkeley, California. Her mother managed a restaurant, her father ran a gas station. By all signs, this was a hard-working, loving family. But as she later shared, it was also a family where love was plentiful, but alcohol wreaked havoc. That kind of mix can turn a child into a quiet fighter. She found pockets of peace where she could: a Baptist church down the street, dance classes that let her move out the worry, friendships that felt safe. And she excelled in school. She skipped grades, served as a student leader, and by 1965, at just 23, she graduated from UC Berkeley with 2 BAs, one in English and one in dramatic art. Those are the kinds of facts that tell you who she was becoming: focused, resilient, and ready to build a life beyond the chaos at home. Even then, the seeds of Caroline Ingalls were taking root, steady, kind, and strong. But the next chapter wasn't the Prairie yet. First, the journey crossed the ocean to a stage where her craft would harden into steel. Picture this: a young Californian on a Fulbright scholarship, stepping onto London streets with a suitcase and a script. That was Karen. She trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, a world where your voice, breath, and body learn to carry a story. The hours were long and strict. The lessons stuck for life. She acted across Europe, tested herself on tough stages, and watched masters work. Those years sharpened her instincts. Back in the States, campuses were alive with change. Karen was there for it. The 1960s lit a fire in her, an early fight for women's rights, for fairness, for a voice that carried beyond a scene partner's line. She kept building her craft in theater and in voice work. Biographies even note leadership and voice training at RADA later on, a hint at how serious she was about building strong, healthy voices. All of this, the discipline, the politics, the stage scars, made a foundation strong enough to hold a very big role. She didn't just want to act, she wanted to mean something. Soon, Hollywood would call, and with it, a bonnet, a kitchen table, and a character who would wrap around America's heart. Then came 1974. NBC cast Karen Grassle as Caroline "Ma" Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, the frontier drama based on Laura Ingalls Wilder's books. Overnight, that kitchen table became America's table. For 9 seasons, from 1974 to 1983, she was best known as Michael Landon's wife on screen, the calm mother who held that world together with patience, grit, and a soft voice that could still set rules. Audiences saw themselves in her. She was the mother you wanted in a crisis, the one who knew the right word at the right time. She sewed, she soothed, she stood her ground. Week after week, she brought quiet strength and deep warmth. It looked effortless. That's how good she was. By the mid-1970s, she was in living rooms everywhere. Press photos glowed. Interviews praised her grace. Fans wrote letters about how Ma helped their own families. This was the role that made Karen Grassle a legend. But a role is a role. The bonnet was a costume. Just off camera, life did not follow the script, and the woman beneath the smile had a storm of her own to face next. Karen Grassle has broken her silence at 83, revealing a life marked by pain and struggle. When I read that line, I paused. The image of Ma is so clean in our minds, gentle, wise, almost unshakable. But the real Karen was carrying weight that most of us never saw. Her memoir opens the door and lets us sit with her in the quiet corners of that set. She writes about identity, about pressure, about the gap between the woman the world needed and the human she was trying to hold together. For years, the public story was simple: beloved TV mom, 9 seasons, an icon. The private reality was not simple. She dealt with depression. She tried to manage pain with a brave face. She navigated a machine that wanted results, not feelings. And she did it while much of the audience imagined the prairie as perfect. This is why her book matters. It replaces a myth with a person. It shows how a soft voice can hide a hard fight. And it prepares us for truths that live behind every bright light. Next, we step onto that set and feel the pressure that never made it into the script. The prairie wasn't always peaceful. Karen later described a workplace that could turn cold and rough. Reports talk about tensions with Little House creator and co-star Michael Landon. Creative disagreements, pay disputes, the kind of power dynamics that make a set feel like an emotional battlefield. Some accounts even speak of humiliations on set, moments that chip away at a person's spirit while the camera wants a smile. It's important to be fair here. She kept most of this private for a long time. She did the work. She protected the show's warmth for the fans. But the grind took a toll. When your spotlight shrinks and your paycheck doesn't match your effort, the job can start to hurt in ways you carry home. In her memoir's description, she struggled to overcome depression while the rise was happening. That contrast is what gets me. America's calm Ma soothing everyone else, while the actor herself felt shaken. Pressure like that looks invisible in syndication, but it's heavy in a person's day. And when the pressure stayed, her coping turned risky. The next part of Karen's journey is hard, honest, and, thankfully, hopeful. Here's the hardest turn. Karen admits that, under the strain, she relied on alcohol. In her own words, recurría cada vez más al alcohol para superar estas dificultades. I increasingly turned to alcohol to overcome these difficulties. That sentence is brave. It names the coping and the cost. The end of Little House in 1983 didn't end the pain right away. She still had to face the person in the mirror, but she did. Her memoir, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, says she ultimately faced her own alcoholism and found her way home. That's the pivot that changes a life. Not a neat fix, not a TV moment. A slow walk back to herself. I think about the fans she held together on screen. Then I think about the strength it takes to hold yourself. That's the kind of courage that outlives fame. If stories like this matter to you, truthful, tender, and fully human, subscribe to Golden American Legends and share this with a friend who loved Little House. More people need to see the person behind the bonnet. Sobriety opened new doors, but the path after a hit show is never smooth. Off-camera, new challenges rose, and so did a different kind of purpose. Off-camera, the plot got harder. One account from her circle says it plain. A sweet marriage goes off the rails, work is sporadic, and poverty looms. That is a rough line for anyone, especially for a face millions think of as steady and safe. When I first read it, I felt my chest tighten. This was not a fall from grace. It was a fight to keep going. So she kept going. She worked in regional theater, where the craft lives close to the audience. She taught voice and drama, passing along what Landon and the road had given her. She helped build creative spaces that didn't need television's approval. The checks were smaller. The work mattered more. Through it all, she stayed kind to fans who loved the show. She showed up at events, signed programs, and smiled for photos. Grace Under Strain became her quiet brand. Those years didn't make headlines, but they made a life, and they kept her ready for a new way to speak up, one that would put her full story on paper and let the world see her whole. Pain can become purpose. Karen turned the heat of the 1960s into action, fighting passionately on behalf of equal rights for women as a writer, producer, and activist. That same energy shows up in her art. She wanted fair pay, fair credit, and fair chances, not just for herself, but for others who were coming up behind her. Then came The Page, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust arrived in 2020, and it felt like a deep breath finally let out. In it, she reflects on life, loss, and love. The campus days, the London training, the set everyone thinks they know, the nights that hurt, the mornings that healed. It is not a gossip book. It is a truth book, and that is why it matters. Melissa Gilbert, America's Laura, called it a 100% authentic portrait of the real woman who will always be her Ma. That praise tells you the bond was real and the honesty is earned. With the truth on the table, we can see Karen clearly. Not just the bonnet, not just the pain, the whole person. Now we arrive at the present day, where her strength looks quieter and somehow even larger. Today at 83, Karen Grassle lives more privately, reportedly in California. The lights are softer now, the schedule is gentler. Some reports note she survived breast cancer. She hasn't made a public habit of detailing her health, and that privacy is a kind of wisdom. What we do see is a steady message about gratitude, about how every morning is a small gift after hard times. Press stories describe her as not just the mother we love, but a symbol of strength. I feel that. After reading the hard chapters, the photos from recent years hit different. The smile is smaller, but deeper. The eyes say she knows the cost of peace and chooses it anyway. Fans feel it too. Letters still arrive. People still say that Ma helped them through something, and now the woman behind Ma helps them in a new way. The prairie is long gone, but the courage is still here, and her later life, quieter as it is, ties a bow on the lesson. Our legends are real people. Their bodies age, their hearts still teach. That's the truth Karen leaves us to carry forward. Here's what I take from Karen's road. Image is tidy, life is not. Her story is a call to empathy and understanding, inviting us to reflect on the struggles that often stay hidden behind a smile. That's not just about one show or one star. It's about anyone whose kindness covers their hurt. She reminds us that even in the darkest moments, there can be light. That line reads like a greeting card until you stack it next to her facts. A loving but alcoholic home, the pressure of a hit series, depression, addiction, recovery, and quiet, steady work after the headlines faded. When Melissa Gilbert praises the memoir as a 100% authentic portrait, it helps seal the legacy. Fans aren't only getting Ma, they're getting Karen. What do we do with that? We meet our elders with more care, we meet our icons with more patience, and we meet ourselves with more honesty. That is the gift her truth gives us, on the page, on the screen, and in the memory of anyone who ever leaned on that kitchen table and felt seen. Let's walk into the final thoughts with that in our pocket. Here's where I land. From the Pacific Coast to London, from a bonnet in Minnesota to a quiet home in California, Karen Grassle has lived many lives. She gave us comfort on screen and courage off it. She faced depression and addiction. She chose sobriety and truth. She found purpose again in theater, teaching, advocacy, and a memoir that lets us meet the real woman behind Ma. If this story moved you, share it with someone who watched Little House with you back in the day. And if you want more deep human portraits of classic stars, subscribe for the next one. Thanks for watching. I'm grateful you spent time here today. Now it's your turn. What Little House character or classic star do you wish got their full story told? I read the comments, and your ideas often shape what I make next. Until then, take care of yourselves and take care of the legends who shaped you. We honor them best when we see the person, not just the part. See you in the next episode.